Good morning, dear students. Today we will start with reliability and validity. And this would be the last topic of Unit 3. Sampling design will complete with reliability and validity. The goal of measurement validity, what it is. We actually have to check our questionnaires whether they are true, they are actually collecting the correct accurate data or not, or you can say whether we need to check whether they are actually checking what we want to check, or they are trying to check something else. For example, you have to target this particular goal, this particular circle, right? Your questionnaire might be targeting this particular area, right? So that would not be said as valid. And if we talk about reliability basically is related to consistency, whether you are getting consistent results with one tool or not. That is also very important, because one person might take one question in one way, or and another might read the same in another way. So we have to mold questions as well in a way so as to get the similar results, or say so as to get the actual result what we are looking for, actual attitude of people towards the thing what we actually want to check. So these two are very crucial things. These are the kind of necessity while going for a study which includes a questionnaire, right? So if our questionnaire is actually targeting this, then it is a kind of valid questionnaire, valid tool, you can say. Or if our questionnaire is targeting something like this or this area or maybe this area, but results might be reliable, but then also it is not good. So reliability as well as validity both should be there, then only we can call a questionnaire as a good questionnaire. Validity is the ability of a scale to measure what was intended to be measured. Like in this, we intended to measure this, and we are trying to check whether our questionnaire is also trying to measure this one or not, right? And reliability is the degree of which measures are free from random error and therefore yield consistent results. We generally ask students like, what have you been scoring in your classes. Like some student might come and tell you, like, I scored 60% in 10th, I scored 89% in 12th, and then in first year again, or maybe graduation again, I scored 62%, right? So you and when one student is telling you that he has scored some score in between 65 to 670 in 10th as well as in 12th, and as well as in his graduation, so you would say that this student is doing consistently well, right? But when it comes to the case of a student, when he was not scoring good initially and he suddenly scored good in one class and then lower in another, in the next class, then you might become suspicious, like how he got 89% in 12th class. This is little unusual for that particular student. So that is how we can relate reliability to questionnaires. Like, we should always get consistent results. If we are getting consistent results, that means we are having a reliable tool in our hands. For example, you can relate reliability and validity both with this. When we are talking about this old rifle, uh, all the targets are scattered. That means it is showing low reliability, and validity is also not exactly there, because we were to target this, and it is all scattered. It is not actually valid, neither valid nor reliable. Then when it comes to the second one, it shows high reliability. You can see it's very consistent, but uh, but because it is not actually coming under this, then that means there is still some chances of improvement here. But when it comes to this particular rifle, there is high consistency, That means results are reliable, but these are not valid because these are not in the target. So when it comes to old rifle, it was low on reliability as well as validity. Here it was highly reliable and it was valid as well because it was between in the target, right? Then when it comes to this, it was reliable, but results are not valid because they are not actually targeting the target. So this is how we can relate whether questionnaire is reliable and valid or not. Let us discuss them in detail what these are. Reliability is an indicator of a measure's internal consistency. That means we are calling questionnaire as a measure here, and we are trying to check whether questionnaire has internal consistency or not. Measure is reliable when different attempts at measuring something converge on the same result. For example, consider an exam that has three parts: 25 multiple choice questions, two essay questions, and a short case. If a student gets 20 out of 25, that means 80% multiple choice questions correct, we would expect he would also score about 80% on the essay and case portions of the exam, right? We generally do that. But this is something the like the student might have scored it by chance, or so we might that is why we are using the term about here. So we might get 75% for that student in essay exam, or maybe 85% in case portion. This can happen. That is why we take a target, we do not say that exactly same result should be there. That is why we use the term consistency. Consistency means similar result. When I say that you are in the 60s, that means 61 to 70. I'm trying to say that you will be getting marks from 61 to 70. I will not say that you will be scoring 65% marks in every class. No, I will try to say you can score between 61 to 70 at least, right? So 60 to 70 is a good measure when we talk about consistency in terms of reliability. So that is why we are talking about 80%. That means he can score 5-10% low or higher. Another way to look at this is that the student who makes the best score on one test will exhibit scores close to the best score in the class on the other test. Yes, if you are scoring good in one subject, the teacher expect you to score to be scoring good in other subjects as well. There might be an exception for you. You might not be good in one subject, you might be very good in another subject. That is something different, but still the teachers know the students throughout the year, that yes, this student, if he is studying well right now, then he can score good in all the exams. These assumptions are done on the basis of reliability constructs. Concept of reliability revolves around consistency. Yes, we talk about consistency whenever we talk about reliability. Think of a scale to measure weight. You would expect the scale to be consistent from one time to the next. If you stepped on the scale and it read 140 pounds, then got off and back on, you would expect it to read 140 again. Yes, this is the best example of reliability. If a weighing machine is giving you different results for all the time, like if it is giving you 140 at one, then 141, then 145, 146, or maybe less, 132, 135, then it is not a reliable instrument. It should be giving you consistent results, right? If it read 110 the second time, while you may be happier, the scale would not be reliable. Reliability can be divided into parts: stability and internal consistency. One thing is being stable. When you are measuring the your weight within a few minutes, again and again, just there without any without any a constructive moment in you. For example, you did not eat anything, you did not walk faster to show the reduced weight or something like that, then it is called stability. You were just there only and you were measuring your weight again and again every minute. Then that means you are trying to show stable movement from your side. Internal consistency means your internal constructs are also behaving in the same way, and that can be these can be evaluated through retest method like we do in the weighing machine in case of stability, and in case of internal consistency we can go with equivalent forms or splitting halves. We will discuss them now. What do you mean by a test reliability? Test retest or method of determining reliability involves administering the same scale or measure to the same respondents at two separate times to test for stability. If the measure is stable over time, the test administered under the same conditions each time should obtain similar results, right? So this is a kind of method we can use. Let us assume that a person doesn't change his or her attitude about Pepsi. Attitude might be measured with an item like the one shown below, like I prefer to all other types of cold drinks. I prefer Pepsi to all other types of cold drinks. If repeated measurements of that individual's attitude toward Pepsi are taken with the same scale, a reliable instrument will provide the same results each time the scale is measured. Right? This one's attitude in October of 2009 should tend to be the same as one's attitude in May 2010, until and unless something major has happened with Pepsi or some other cold drink. Internal consistency. It represents a measures homogeneity. An attempt to measure trustworthiness may require asking several similar but not identical questions. Internal consistency of a multiple item measure can be measured by correlating scores on subsets of items making up a scale. You can actually ask a question in uh, two kinds and two varieties, you can say. Then you can ask them the same those two questions differently, separately, so as to get the similar answers. For example, you can ask people about the you know about a company's management behavior. Then you can ask them about what if you get a job there and how would you want management to behave with you. Like this, you can mold the question in two ways, and then you can ask the question. This way you can check the internal consistency. Or you can divide the whole questionnaire in two parts. This is called split half method of checking reliability. Is performed by taking half the items from a scale, for example all the odd number items, and checking them against the results from the other half, that is even number items. Two scale halves should produce similar scores and correlate highly. If it is so, then that means your your construct is actually good on internal consistency. The problem with split half method is determining the two halves. Should it be even odd numbered question or question 1 to 3 and then 4 to 6? It is always a question, but you can do it both ways. It depends on the time you have for your questionnaire. Coefficient alpha provides a solution to this particular dilemma. What coefficient alpha is? It is the most commonly applied estimate of a multiple item scale's reliability. Coefficient represents internal consistency by computing the average of all possible split half reliabilities for a multi-item scale. The coefficient demonstrates whether or not the different items converge. Although coefficient does not address validity, many researchers use as the sole indicators of a scale's quality. Yes, maximum people just use coefficient alpha and they are done with their questionnaire, structuring the questionnaire. Coefficient alpha ranges in value from 0, meaning no consistency, to 1, meaning complete consistency. Scales with a coefficient between 0.80 to 0.95 are considered to have very good reliability. Scales with a coefficient between 0.70 to 0.80 are considered to have good reliability. Scales with value between 0.60 and 0.70 indicates fair reliability. When the coefficient is below 0.6, the scale has poor reliability and they are not considered. Most statistical software packages such as SPSS will easily compute coefficient. You just have to put in the values and you'll get the table and you'll get the value of alpha coefficient. If it is if it is below 0.6, you do not have to think much. Leave it here and improve your questionnaire. Otherwise, if it is good, if it is above 0.60, then you have to decide whether you are going to consider it or not. Up to what point you should consider reliability again depends on the kind of research you are doing, but it should be at least above 0.60. Validity. It is the accuracy of a measure or the extent to which a score truthfully represents a concept. In other words, are we accurately measuring what we are thinking that we are measuring? Achieving validity is not a simple matter. Considering the controversy about highway patrol officers using radar guns to clock speeders, driver is clocked at 83 mph in a 55 mph zone, but the same radar gun aimed at a house registers 28 mph. That means something is wrong, right? The error occurred because the radar gun had picked up impulses from the electrical system of the squad car's idling engine. Obviously, the house was not moving, thus, how can we be sure the car was speeding? In this case, we would certainly question if the accusation that the car was actually going 83 mph is completely valid. So, this is how we try to measure validity in our questionnaires as well. How would you establish validity? The researchers have attempted to assess validity in many ways. They attempt to provide some evidence of a measure's degree of validity by answering a variety of questions. If there is there a consensus among other researchers that my attitude scale measures what it is supposed to measure, or does my measure cover everything that it should? Does my measure correlate with other measures with of the same concept? Does the behavior expected from my measure predict actual observed behavior? Like this, and we have different kind of we have some validities. We name them as face or content validity, criteria validity, or construct validity, concurrent and predictive validity. We will be discussing them one by one now. Face validity. It refers to the subjective agreement among professionals that a scale logically reflects the concept being measured. Do the test items look like they make sense given a concept's definition? You will just read the questionnaire again and again to check whether it is actually valid or not. This is basically the face validity. When an inspection of the test items convinces experts that the items match the definition, the scale is said to have face validity. Clear, understandable questions such as how many children do you have generally are agreed to have face validity. So basically, it again relates to the question that how easy you have molded the questions. But it becomes more difficult to assess face validity in regard to more complicated business phenomena. Yes. For instance, consider the concept of customer loyalty. In scientific studies, face validity might be considered a first hurdle in comparison to other forms of validity. Validity is comparatively easy to assess. That is why, if you have a look at questionnaires put in around structured by the different researchers, they would always check face or content validity, and then they will step towards reliability. They will just measure the face validity because it is easy to assess, and it gives you the maximum appropriate result as well, as per if your study is not very sensitive or it's not for some tactical decision making. However, our researchers are generally not satisfied with simply establishing face validity because of the elusive nature of attitudes and other business phenomena. Additional forms of validity are also sought. Let's see what content validity says. It refers to the degree that a measure covers the domain of interest. In case of face validity, we were just trying to check whether we are trying to ask the right questions, whether uh, whatever question we are trying to ask makes sense with the research study. But here we'll try to check whether all the whether everything which is under the domain of interest is being covered or not. Do the items capture the entire scope but not go beyond the concept we are measuring? Or if an exam is supposed to cover chapters 1 to 5, it is fair for students to expect that questions should come from all 5 chapters rather than just 1 or 2 units. Yes, this is what we check in content validity. It is also fair to assume that the questions will not come from chapter 6. Yes, it is 100% fair. So these are the things which we generally check in content validity. At the name was as the name was also suggesting that content, we are trying to check the content of the questionnaire. Thus, when students complain about the material on an exam, they are often claiming it lacks content validity. Similarly, an evaluation of an employee's job performance should cover all important aspects of the job, but not something outside of the employee's specified duties. Then criteria validity. It addresses the question, how well does my measure work in practice? In other words, is my measure practical? Criteria validity may be classified as either concurrent validity or predictive validity, depending on the time sequence in which the new measurement scale and the criteria measure are correlated. If the new measure is taken at the same time as the criteria measure and is shown to be valid, that it has concurrent validity. Predictive validity is established when a new measure predicts a future event. That means we are trying to predict a future event, as the name is suggesting, right? And concurrent is showing the similar results. In a business setting, participants in a training seminar might be given a test to assess their knowledge of the concepts covered, establishing concurrent validity. Or personal managers may give potential employees an exam to predict if they will be effective salespersons or not. This is called predictive validity. While face validity is a subjective evaluation, criteria validity provides a more rigorous empirical testing. Now, construct validity. It exists when a measure reliability measures and truthfully represents a unique concept. It consists of several components, including your face validity, content validity, criteria validity, convergent validity, and discriminant validity. We have discussed face validity, content, and criteria validity, right? We must be sure our measures look like they are measuring what they are intended to measure. That was face validity and adequately cover the domain of interest means they are going with content validity. If so, we can assess convergent validity and discriminant validity as well. These forms of validity represent how unique or distinct a measure is. These are further content validity. Convergent validity requires that concepts that should be related are indeed related. They are not just shown related. For example, in business, we believe customer satisfaction and loyalty are related. If we have measures of both, we would expect them to be positively correlated. If constructs are positively correlated, they would be having convergent validity. If we found no significant correlation between our measures of satisfaction and measures of loyalty, it would bring into question the convergent validity of these measures. On the other hand, our customer satisfaction measure should not correlate too highly with the loyal measure if the two concepts are truly different. If the correlation is very high, we have to ask if we are measuring two different things or if satisfaction and loyalty are actually just one concept. So it should not be very, very high as well. As a rough rule of thumb, when two scales are correlative above 0.75, discriminant validity may be questioned. So we expect related concepts to display a significant correlation, convergent validity, but not to be so highly correlated that they are not independent concepts, because that is our discriminant validity. Factor analysis can be useful in establishing construct validity. Generally, we use factor analysis to develop both of them, construct as well as discriminant validity. This is all about validity. Sensitivity is a measurement instrument's ability to accurately measure variability in stimuli or responses. This is one step ahead of reliability and validity. When you have actually measured both the concepts, then you go and discuss sensitivity. Whether this is actually accurately measuring the variability in all the stimuli. These are generally used in medical science studies, so we will just go with reliability and validity. That's it. Let us discuss some true false. Number one, the three major criteria for evaluating measurements are reliability, validity, and sensitivity. Yes, true. Second, a measuring instrument is valid when the results can be repeated at subsequent measures of the concept. Is it? This is actually reliability. Validity refers to the extent to which a score truthfully represents a concept. So it is false. Coefficient beta is the most commonly applied estimate of a composite scale's reliability. Is it? No, this is criteria validity. So it is not coefficient beta. It's false. Fourth is content validity is the ability of a measure to correlate with other standard measures of similar constructs or established criteria. Is it? This is actually criteria validity. So it is false. Discriminant validity is another way of expressing internal consistency. Is it? This is actually your convergent validity. Discriminant validity represents how unique or distinct a measure is. Some self-assessment questions. List the three criteria for good measurement. We just had a question in true false. Three criteria for measurement: reliability, validity, and sensitivity. Right? And you can just provide the definition as well. Then explain what reliability is and discuss how it is assessed. But you have to mention the definition of reliability here, and then you can discuss all the ways, all the types of reliability, and then how would you assess it, like with the method of internal consistency, that is split half method, or coefficient alpha you can mention, and you can mention the other method, test retest method as well, the one with which is attached with stability. Okay, then third is name and describe the components of construct validity. Construct validity means we are talking about all the constructs of validity. That means phase validity, content validity, convergent validity, criteria validity, and discriminant validity. Name and describe. List them all and then describe them. Last is discuss the difference between validity and reliability. You have to first provide the definition of validity and reliability. The difference between these two key measurements is often confused. That is why I put up this question. Reliability refers to the ability of a measure to obtain similar results over time and across situations. Reliability is the degree to which measures are free from error, therefore yield consistent results. But when it comes to validity, it refers to the measure's ability to measure what we intended to measure, right? So that's it. Thank you. Here we are done with your unit 3. In our next video, next presentation, we'll be starting with unit 4.